Alright guys, so we're going to go over a different type of problem now, a little bit outside of doing domain and range problems. So the first problem that I want to go over how you would solve arcsine of negative root 2 over 2. So this is just what we would do to get the answer for this problem. So the first thing I want to show you guys is that when you're working with sine and inverse sine, how you can kind of look at it is if you have sine of theta is equal to x, you're going to have inverse sine of x is equal to theta. So there is a pretty simple way to solve this, but I'm going to kind of walk you through like how I would do this step by step just so that you can really see. So when we're working with arcsine and sine, let's first draw out our unit circle. And so if we were going to graph this, we're going to have to set a domain for arcsine. So setting a domain for the inverse of sine, first we know that our domain is going to be, because we can only have values between -1 and 1, what we're going to have is we're going to have -1 is equal to x is less than or equal to 1. And then we're going to want to set a range, which is a little bit of the trickier part for this, but in order to make this function valid, we're going to have to restrict the range. And so we have 4 different quadrants that this can be used in. And so like for this value with like f of x, we can have our sine be pi over 4 plus 2 pi, and then pi over 4 plus 4 pi. Like these are just different ways that you will have the value of sine for pi over 4. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to restrict our range to only be, here's our 1 and our 1. We want our range to only be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. In order to make our function valid, because in order to inverse the sine, to use inverse sine, we have to have a valid restricted range. So we're going to have negative pi over 2 is less than or equal to our theta, which is less than or equal to pi over 2. So our range is restricted to only the first and the fourth quadrant. So now if we had root 2 over 2 on here, it would probably look something like this. Say we got negative root 2 over 2. And then we're going to draw out a little triangle for this. So the radius is going to be 1, which is our hypotenuse. We have negative root 2 over 2. And then we also have negative root 2 over 2. Here's our 90-degree angle. And then what angle gives you negative root 2 over 2 or root 2 over 2? It's 45-degree angle. That would be 45-degree angle. And so in order to solve for what this is going to be, we're going to take our angle theta, which is equal to negative 45 degrees, and then we are going to convert that into radians. And so we have pi radians divided by 180 degrees. So if you plug this into a calculator, 45 divided by 180, you get that your theta is equal to negative pi over 4. So the answer to this problem, our arcsine of x, which is arcsine negative root 2 over 2, is going to be equal to negative pi over 4. But another way to kind of write this out too, that will kind of clear this up a little bit, is that we can also do, so we have arcsine root 2 over 2 negative. I'm just going to show you guys another way to look at this problem that will make it kind of useful. And the way that I'm going to show you guys, because it's a way to graph it and you can kind of solve it from graphing it, by restricting the domain and the range, the domain of x and the range of theta, and then graphing it and then taking the angle and then converting the angle into radians. That is one way that you can solve this problem. And then the other way to solve this problem, we are going to use this little trick right here. So if you have inverse sine of negative root 2 over 2 is equal to question mark. How you can look at this in order to get the answer is you have sine of what gives you negative root 2 over 2. So you can plug this into the calculator, or if you know your unit circle, you will know that sine negative pi over 4 equals negative root 2 over 2. And so then you have arcsine negative root 2 over 2 equals negative pi over 4. Sorry guys, I know those are a little close together, but you're kind of using, for this, you're kind of using this rule that we have up here. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes this a little bit more clear.